Hi, everybody. Welcome to Moley's Midweek Scoops. Tony Adams is the mole. And Tony, how's Origin Week? Not one, but two Origins. And Queensland won them both.
Yeah, and I had to rate all 34 players in both. So that's 68 players. So I'm quite exhausted, Steve. A bit like those poor New South Wales and Queensland women who slogged it out in very heavy conditions in Newcastle. And the Queenslanders, it has been a good 24 hours to be a blue. Queensland got home on the bell with a field goal. So, yeah, well done, the Maroons, in both men's and women's rugby league. They rule the roost.
Obviously, we're not going to go into Origin too much because people talking about it everywhere, I guess. And we're here to talk about your column. But Joseph Swali, it was a pretty bad incident. A few people are trying to come up with ideas how he can be replaced or whatever, but it was a pretty bad incident, wasn't it? It was a bad tackle.
Yeah, it was a bad tackle, but in his defence, Reece Walsh was falling. Had Reece Walsh stayed on his feet, and remember it was slippery conditions, it would have been a great tackle around the chest. And, you know, these things happen so quickly, and there's all these conspiracy theories in Queensland that they went out there to take Reece Walsh out. Well, if they did, it certainly backfired on them because they played with 12 men for 72 minutes and got spanked, even without Reece Walsh. So, yeah, it's just the vibe, as we like to say, the vibe in Australia here is, people paid $320 for tickets to this game, and after 7 minutes, it wasn't a contest. Queensland were always going to win. And now they'll win the series. You know, there's no way after winning in Sydney they're going to let it slip. So you just wonder, is there a better way to deal with these ugly incidents where a player's sent off, particularly early in a game, and the game is in effect all over? And this is, let's not forget, the showpiece game of the year.
Yeah, Reece Walsh was gone for the rest of the game too, though, wasn't he? So if Swali had been replaced or whatever, Queensland would still be without their best player because of an act of foul play. It's pretty hard to come up with a fair way to deal with that. But also in the women's game, quickly, Tony, New South Wales were the better team for the whole game, pretty much. They're in front everywhere but the scoreboard. So it was a real sort of gutsy win by Queensland, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it just shows the Queensland culture doesn't just extend to the men. We've seen Queensland do this time and again in the men's game, and now they've done it in the women's. The Blues look like winners the whole way through. They led 10-4 late. Queensland scored a try to level at 10-all, and it looks certain to go to extra time because the field was that heavy. I didn't think anyone would manage a field goal, but Queensland did with about 90 seconds to go, and game over. And now we head to Townsville for the decider.
Let's hit your column. Lachy Galvin's a very talented young player at West Tigers, and your lead item is about him. What's the story?
Yeah, it's a bit of a controversial one, and the Tigers are denying it, but I can assure you it's true because he's told several people that he's been playing for the last month with a broken hand. Basically, the Tigers are out of halfbacks. Aidan Caesar, who played over there with you in Super League, is suspended at the moment. Latu Fainu is injured. Bud Sullivan's a battler, so they really need Lachy Galvin on the field. And they've been playing him needled up for most of the last month. And when his manager, Isaac Moses, found out about this, he was not happy because to needle up an 18-year-old kid whose, body's still developing and to make him play with a broken hand, it's not a good look. In the Tigers' defence, the kid, from what I can tell, probably wanted to play, as 18-year-olds do. But you've got to think of the long-term, good and bad out of this. And it's not like the Tigers are fighting for a semi-final spot. If anything, they're fighting to avoid the wooden spoon. So, there's a few people who are saying, why are they doing this? And interestingly enough, he's been picked again to play tomorrow night against the Dragons at halfback. Now, whether he plays, whether he's a late withdrawal, I'll be interested to see. But the manager not happy, so it could get a little bit spicy in Tiger Town.
Okay, that is an interesting story indeed. We'll keep our eyes on that game down in the Gong, my old stomping ground. Now, your second item is about a hopeless gambler. It's not unusual in rugby league, I guess, but it's a player who's blowing a lot of money on the punt.
Yeah, it is. And not only is he blowing money on the punt, but when he runs out of money, and he's on big money, I can assure you, he's snipping his teammates for money. And when his teammates have asked for the money back, it hasn't been forthcoming. So it's created a little bit of drama, as you can imagine. I can't reveal his identity for obvious reasons, but I can give you a bit of a clue and let you know he won't be at his current club next year.
I've got a couple of names just jumped into my mind immediately. Who is Sasaya Latu? Who is he?
Okay, Sasaya Latu is a youngster that the Knights have had their eye on for a couple of years, and they've signed him on a 4-year deal. So 4-year deals are pretty rare, almost as rare as 5-year deals. He's only 18 years old. He's a speedy, athletic winger from New Zealand. He's playing flag at the moment, and the plan is, and it shows you how clubs plan these days. He's going to train with a full-time squad in 2026, play flag the previous year in 2025, become a development player in 2027, and move into the top 30 in 2028. So clubs really planning ahead these days. It just goes to show it's a very different game than what it used to be.
Indeed, it is, and very different game when you're beating basketball teams to sign players. But
Yeah,
that's something the Broncos have done with Antonio Verhoeven. He's
something like that. Yes.
he was Dutch and Tongan.
Yes, I know. I know you love your heritages, so I think that's well, I think we can fairly say that's a unique one, a combination of a Dutch and Tongan background. So I'm not sure who he's going to play international footy for.
Easier
Does
to get
Holland
into the
have
Dutch
a
team, I'd
rugby league
suggest.
team?
Easier to
Well,
get into the Dutch team, I'd suggest. Yes, in fact, Hull KR and York are playing a preseason game next year in Amsterdam. So there you go.
well, we might get him along. See if we can get him a start. But he stands at 198 centimetres, which is pretty tall. I'm an old feet and inches man, but 198 centimetres, pretty tall. He's only 17, so still growing. But rugby league is his love, and that's where he wants to be. And he's signed by the Broncos for 2 to 3 years.
Tony, short and sweet, although we did have the origin discussion at the start, which lengthened us a little bit. But good to see you. Good to hear from you. And we'll talk again next week. Don't forget, everybody, like and subscribe.
For sure. Thanks, Steve.